Good afternoon. We will call the meeting to order in the Missouri Valley Complex. Steve, can you please call the roll?
He's in the wrong chair.
Time, morning.
Hello.
Hello. Clipville,
Here.
Peters,
Here.
Kurlasek,
Here.
Martinez,
Here.
Graylow,
Here.
Hilsenberger, Polson. You do have quorum.
Item 3 on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. It was in your packet. Can I get a motion to approve?
I would motion to approve the minutes of October 22.
Second it. You have a motion and a second for the approval of the October 22nd meeting minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next item is public comment. Doesn't look like we have anybody from the public here. So we will move on to Commissioner Munson briefing.
Good afternoon. Just a couple quick items. The action on the mitigation proposal 401-404 permit. I made an assumption, we were just having a conversation, that I thought Swenson Hagen was going to take care of putting out the bid request. They're going to help us write it. I'll get it to Mark this week and we'll get that request out. So we're a little bit behind the ball on that one now. But I don't think that is going to hinder us a whole lot. And here's the second item on my list. The city and the county are currently working on an agreement that will allow Burley County Planning and Zoning to regulate the Missouri Valley Fairgrounds. And I think I would rather have our plat and all of the rest of our process that we're working on, we've been working on, since it's going to change to the county, I'd rather hold off on Swenson and Hagen a little bit and make sure that agreement is in place with the city so that we can then have, instead of going through the city to 80% of it and then switching, let's just hold off a little bit and we'll get this switched over to the county as soon as that agreement is finalized. My understanding is that is in front of the city council at their next meeting to finalize we've gotten a rough draft of the proposal based on the county's motion. And so like I said, we should see a final agreement there. The one sticking point is Wayne's land right now. That's the one item that has been held out there as a carrot. We're not sure how that's going to work.
They can eliminate it out there.
That's our goal. But based on the motion that the county commissioners made, it included Wayne's land. That's the one item that the city is still negotiating on.
I hope to take it off.
Well, that's our goal. That's our goal.
I got another question for you.
Yeah.
Now,
Use your mic, use your mic.
you were saying,
Microphone.
Wayne, use the mic.
okay. Yeah, I was wondering, you were saying the county zoning is gonna kind of run the grounds. The park, I thought the park board was involved with that.
Well, so right now, Missouri Valley Complex is in the ETA, which is then managed zoning-wise by the city of Bismarck. Part of our request with the ETA conversations was that the Missouri Valley Complex, since it's county land, county project, should be managed by Burley County Planning and Zoning. And so until the city makes that final, I'd like to kind of hold off on our plat review so that we're submitting it to the authority that would be making that final decision.
Just for clarification, Wayne, so the Missouri Valley Complex is in the city limits, and so that's why
Correct.
the city currently has planning opportunities, so that the park district doesn't manage that property for the county.
Yep.
So that's a little bit different.
There's all kinds of little pieces and parts in there, you know. But yeah, Bismarck Parks and Recs does manage it for us, but it is in the city limits. And so the city was very agreeable to it, since it's very similar to the agreement that they have with the state capitol. State Capitol's within the city limits, but the state capital handles their own planning and zoning operations. And so they're using that as the guideline to work with the complex as well, so. Okay, any more questions?
Anything else for Commissioner Munson?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item 6 on our agenda, update from Swenson Hagen. We have Jason Patrician here.
Good afternoon. Just to piggyback a little bit of what Wayne was discussing previously, the wetland permitting part will dictate some of the platting, but also whether or not we're in the city control or in county control will dictate too a little bit of the platting as well. A couple things that would go long-term with that platting conversation is, of course, stormwater and infrastructure, right? So, Burley County, city, or if you're in the ETA, currently you would be required to do a stormwater management plan with your plat. In order to complete that mechanism, we need to know where we're going to lie because the requirements between those differ a little bit. And so, as you may recall throughout this particular season, we have had our discussions with the city of Bismarck because up until recently, the county control has not been in front of us. And so now that that's becoming something that can happen, then we will have a little bit different cosmetic makeup of how that stormwater management plan and how we manage runoff on the grounds, and that would go in then with that plat. So even if we weren't dealing with a wetland delineation and mitigation or purchase part of it, we would still be saying, hey, we would like to hold on the plat until we know what our jurisdiction is, because then we can properly lay out what that stormwater design would be for that. Infrastructure-wise, you know, we've had all of our meetings with the city of Bismarck, and so the city of Bismarck is given us correspondence and how they would like to see road networks and, you know, maintenance and all these things, right? So now if we are out under county jurisdiction, we need to start then having some conversations with the county engineering department so that we can get in front of them and say, okay, kind of a new thing here. How are you guys gonna be looking at the complex, management, maintenance, all of these kinds of things from infrastructure? There is sanitary sewer that runs through the complex that is from City of Bismarck. So somewhere in here, I would just put a little star out here that says, you know, I think we're still going to, when the plat gets ready to keep going again, have these discussions again about if this is a county controlled thing, are we still going to have city sanitary sewer? And are we gonna be able to have city water? And how does that look? So is there going to be possibly a separate agreement that captures that? Because you're in the county with the potential to get city services? Or is the city gonna say, or do you say, the county, say, well, no, we're fine, we'll get rural water. But then what happens with that sanitary sewer, right? Because you do have some facilities out there. So those things are still kind of on the table. They're little things that need to be addressed. As far as the permitting side of the wetland conversation goes, I think that kind of lines up nicely. Get that out for bids, bring that back, get that contract approved, and then sit down with that entity who's been awarded that particular part of that job and start discussing these plat things and how these things are laid out. And then, of course, we'll have to have some additional discussions as a group on how you would like to handle some of the improvements. If the improvements as they were laid out in the last year, some of the RV, the parking lots, the grounds and stuff like that. So really saying what will the area of project-wide or disturbance-wide happen within the next immediate some years, you know, whether that's 3 to 5 years or 3 years or whatever, right? Because you'd want to include those into your permits, but if we're talking 5 to 10 years, you're probably getting outside of what that permit might be able to capture before it has to be redone. So I don't anticipate we could just write that permit and go through that process if we're saying, well, our 10-year plan is this. I think it, you know, maybe part of that's more immediate from the Corps' side of it. So that's another thing that will have to be discussed. So yes, there's a little nuance here with everything kind of going under county control, and once we know that, then a lot of things kind of start laying out again for us to go back and get some direction from the county. So with that, I would be able to take any of your questions.
Kevin?
Any questions? Steve?
If I may, 2 questions. One, and maybe for Wayne and Jason, but when does this group get engaged in the planning of this up there as individual stakeholders? And so when we're talking about the roads and all of those kinds of things, is I think that's pretty important as this plat develops, that the groups are involved in this conversation. And, you know, because you gotta understand the programming as well when you're gonna do the platting out there.
Right.
And you need to hear the programming from the groups.
Yeah.
So it's not in isolation in an office someplace.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right, I mean, there's that discussion that can start and can continue with the assumption that you will be in the county. And so that way, you know, we're able to kind of help get everybody together, all the players. You know, this may be something where the committee and the county engineering department get together with us and we sit down and have a discussion, you know, so that the engineering department even understands, you know, your function and how things are kind of laid out, or how you would like them laid out. And that way, you know, they can help have a more fruitful conversation. Because you are kind of entering a new ground here, right? So if you were putting a subdivision together and you were a private developer, I could tell you right away what all the requirements of you would be.
But you'd also have the developer involved in the conversation of that development.
Right, I would say next meeting.
Yeah.
I think it should be as early as next meeting to ask, we see how the meeting goes with the city next week, but I would love to have county planning and county highway here with Swenson and Hagan to start that conversation next meeting.
Or it's a separate meeting someplace.
Could be that too.
I think that'd
Yep.
be more beneficial than limiting it to an hour for the project. The second question was for Jason. It's in the paper this morning, the whole shakeup of the Interior Department and the wetland, national wetland standards and requirements. Is that gonna have an impact on wetland mitigations now, even in a project like this, if that comes to fruition, or is that whole process gonna drag it out that much farther?
Well, typically you would see things like this that come about over the years, and there could be things tied up in court, you know, these decisions still have to be made. So I anticipate that kind of gets drug out. I see more that maybe the immediate need is to try to get that under contract, get that permit started, to get out and get your public comments so that you can do that. Otherwise, we're probably really talking, you know, some point well into next year before maybe that gets wrapped up. So it's not immediate. That all has to trickle down to these local, state, core offices to give direction for that. So there's been a lot of talk recently of that, yes. But that's kind of what I think seems to be the gist is let's move that permitting forward, and somewhere as the permitting goes, you'll catch up into the, wherever that conversation is.
Any other questions? Well, it sounds like we're kind of waiting to see what happens between the city and the county as far as the ETA and the planning and zoning, and then we can, once we get that decision, we can move forward with the permitting process and get that started as quick as possible.
Yep, and then once you've got some of those things defined, we can bring the plat back. The zoning, of course, is wrapped up. That was, we unhinged that from the process earlier this year, and so that's completed. But yeah, once we kind of get into that conversation, and we have a conversation with the county, how they're going to look at some of the things with stormwater and stuff, then I think, you know, that really solidifies and helps those things come together to get you guys finished up with the plat.
And Commissioner Munson, maybe we should try to set up a meeting between engineering, highway department, and after we see what happens next week.
I've got 2 stops in this building to make after this meeting to try to solidify how that'll all work.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else for Jason? Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Item number 7, committee reports. Last meeting, we had brought some information forward for the Missouri Valley Complex Future Form, Function, and Operations Report. And anybody have any questions on that? We'll try to get that approved if we don't have any other questions or feedback on that. If there's no questions, if we could get a motion to approve that, that would be great.
I would move to approve the Missouri Valley Complex Committee's Future Form, Function, and Operations Report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item is the Missouri Valley Complex Activities and Program Report. We had a report, excuse me, Kay had sent out some information to the committee that she's been developing with everybody's input. At this point in time, I think if anybody has any comments, if they can get those back to Kay by the end of next week, which I know is Thanksgiving week, so it might be earlier in the week, but then she can start putting the finishing touches on that before the presentation to the county commission in December. That work for everybody? Okay.
Kevin?
Yes.
The one thing I was talking with Kay last week was, if you have numbers of attendance, or can get numbers of attendance, that's really a pretty important piece to this, is how many people are attending and participating in an event. And Buckstop Junction is one that we talked about as far as, you know, the Apple Fest or the Furry Rescue and some of those things. How many people did attend? Because they have tickets, or they should be able to know. Sure. That's going to be a critical point in the presentation of what is the total usage and attendance out there, not just that specific activity as one, but you know, they have 5,000 people show up. It makes a lot of difference.
One thing on that, I know on the 4-H and extension side, I guess I just did a general what we have for numbers. There's a ton of things that happen outside of the complex that, and I think I said that in that response back, that we can actually potentially pull in, you know, with that building coming in if that's the case, or maybe just some different scheduling side of things. But I don't count, I know you were talking like Bowmasters where your leader, they're meeting there, well, in the past it's been what, 3 times a month, 2 times a month for.
No, 4 times, yeah, and I was gonna say, this Sunday is when we were gonna work on our report.
Yeah.
Cause it's due, I think it might have been due the 1st of November, but we're gonna get it done. And then that would be our count from like December of 24 through May of 25. for using up their building.
And the numbers, I guess, that I submitted were single, so like, for example, your kids are,
Yeah.
I only counted them once, even though they maybe have a meeting, they have shooting for bowmasters, they have achievement days. So if you want me to duplicate that for what it is, by all means, I can adjust those numbers, because that, I mean, from a perspective of what's the impact, it's gonna make it bigger, but typically we don't duplicate those numbers, if that makes sense. I know with Apple Fest, you can't tell the people who come in for Hootenanny versus Apple Fest versus all those different events, but I know on our end, I just kept it as one. So if you guys want me to adjust that within the 4-H and extension numbers, I totally can, to where it's, you know, the egg hunt, achievement days, like it's separated completely out. So if you want that, I can do that for all 32 events. And again, that includes, like, we've got 4-H clubs that meet monthly at our office. So I have, again, one, so. Do you want me to adjust that, or?
No, I think you should adjust it. I think the numbers are important, the total participation throughout the year.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
out at Buckstop Junction, I believe the attendance for that, Apple Jam was around 3,000 people, from what I've been hearing. And then, the other one for the hoof stock, that was really a good turnout there too, so they wanna increase it some more next year. But one thing we are gonna do is change our date from our corn feed. We're going back to the corn feed name, but we gotta move the date because it interferes with Lincoln Days out in Lincoln. That really hurt us this year. I didn't know that they run all 3 days. So we're gonna try to find a different date for that. It's pretty hard to find them because they're pretty well all booked up. We're kinda late at that. But, we're moving ahead out there now to this new committee or whatever. Would that change a lot of, building structures out there if we wanna put up a building? Do we have to get it all approved, I know, but it'd be a lot simpler.
I think you're right in the fact that it'll be simpler, but the codes are gonna be the same.
Right.
Regulations will all be the same, but it'll be working through, you know, much smaller department and much more personalized service.
Okay, good. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So we'll try to get that updated information to Kay by the end of next week, so the 28th of November.
When's the playground for them?
The next item on our agenda, establish the dates for our meetings for the presentation to the county, I'm sorry. I think with the information that we've gathered, we're thinking that we'll be able to give this information to the county in the second meeting in December. Do you know what?
15th.
15th? That'll give Kay a couple of weeks to get that stuff together. All right. Stakeholder reappointments is the next item on the agenda. Kay had mentioned this last week that we want to get letters of recommendation for the stakeholder appointments for 2026 by, so that we can present those to the county at that same meeting, December the 15th. And so if you can get that information to Kay by then, that would be great too. And then the last item under committee reports and updates is the review of the 2026 schedule. And tell me if I'm wrong, Steve, here, did we schedule these on the third Wednesday of every month? Is that what we said? Okay, so
Yes.
that's what we have in front of you. And that's what I think will be a setting forth for 2026, unless somebody has some feedback on that. It seemed to be what we stuck with here the last half of 2025. It seemed to work out pretty well.
And Kevin, we do have the dates confirmed and booked.
Okay, great.
Just one other thing, if I might, the county commission meeting is December 15th, we're scheduled to meet the 17th. I suggest the committee we meet the week before to review the presentation and take care of the appointments, and then we can forward it on that day or the next day, get it into the packet with the county commission agenda. So it'll be what's the week before?
Be December 10th.
December 10th would be the next, proposed for the next meeting.
And Stevie will check to see if this room's available.
We'll check if it's available.
Okay.
And let everybody know, send it out.
So we'll tentatively plan that to move this meeting up 1 week to December 10th, Wednesday at noon. Contingent on, well, we'll have some space, it just might not be here. So we'll make sure we have space someplace and let everybody know. Anything else to come before the Missouri Valley Complex Committee today?
Just one thing for clarification, that the reappointments are only for the stakeholders on an annual basis. The citizen representatives, Dustin and Wayne and Kay are all set through 2028, so we're fine with those. So that'll be a county commission in the next 1-year term starts this next year, so we're good there.
All right, anything else? I'll make sure Kay knows that I got the meeting done in 26 minutes.
You gave everybody 34 minutes back.
Meeting adjourned.